We start, of course, with the Arizona Cardinals, a 24-23 win over the San Francisco 49ers. Just an awesome win. We're going to talk about the ways in which this win developed and the circumstances that led to it. Not all of it is fantastic over-the-top news, but that's getting a little bit too far into the weeds. We're just going to start super high up top, which is awesome divisional win. Awesome.
This is the segment of nothing else matters. They won. They won the game. They won a divisional game. They won a divisional game on the road. And there was a line that Dave Burns, who we just saw, used in his rapid reactions yesterday that I loved. The two wins, not only are they divisional wins, Kel, they're against, he called them the deans of the NFC West, which is to say that the Cardinals have beaten Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan so far this year. Seattle on the horizon, I know that's several weeks away from now, but I got to be honest, the fact that this win in particular, the way it was won, the way they performed in the second half, and the fact that it's a divisional win and the two divisional wins that they have, or the two wins they have this year are in the division, that's going to set them up for a lot better when the season really comes down to those final few games of the year.
Here's Kyler Murray on the win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm focused on right now. Obviously, it's huge, to go 2-0 in the division, to be able to flush last week and come in here against a divisional opponent and get a W on the road, just to be able to go home with a win, man. I think it does wonders for us. Again, I'm not looking forward to, down the line, but it's the biggest one because it's the next one. It's the current game that we're playing, so I'm excited, to get back and watch the film.
Jonathan Gannon was on with Burns and Gambo earlier today. Here is him on the response following the disappointing effort against the Commanders.
Yeah, I'm proud. I really am. I actually told the media this, not that we want to talk about that, and you guys you might roll your eyes at me, but I honestly was more proud of the week because just like you said, after, week 4, got handled pretty good, right? And for those guys to respond and have some resilience and go about their business the way that they did on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they responded the right way and then laid it on the line and won the game. So I am proud of them.
And Mitch, to stick with where you were in terms of the interdivisional opponent here and winning this game, I love the difference between the two wins, because you blow out the Rams, you kill the Rams, and then you just squeak one by here. You stole a win. You got a win because they didn't have a kicker. Whatever happened, I don't care. You beat the Niners on the road. The Niners you were 0-4 against previously. The Seahawks are the next one up where they haven't beaten them since 21. But you get that monkey off your back, and that part doesn't really matter as much because finding a way to win this game. We'll talk about later how the circumstances in which they won, yes, but for now, it's just the fact that they won and they beat the Niners in San Francisco. Not many teams are going to be able to say they did that this year. The Cardinals are one of them.
I think one of the biggest aspects that I take away from that win in terms of, heck yeah, let's go. James Conner, man, when you need your offense to get going or when you need somebody to just kind of reignite the energy on that side of the ball, just turn and hand to James Conner because that dude is going to tuck the ball, get his nose down deep, dirty, really dig in there, and he's going to get you a bunch of yards, and he's going to set you up for success. And he's basically one of the biggest reasons as to why we're talking about the Cardinals the way we are today, because it certainly didn't start that way yesterday for James Conner, but the way that he came out of the locker room and performed in the second half, it really led to a lot of successful opportunities for the Cardinals. The touchdown to Higgins, that was mostly because of a Conner drive. And then the game-winning field goal drive was a lot set up by James Conner runs. That was a massive impact in yesterday's game.
Yeah, the only part of this win that was replicable, in my opinion, is what the Cardinals are going to be known for this year, and we hope that they're known for this year. You and I were talking about going into the week how we're not really seeing that run identity being established at an elite level with James Conner, which is what we expected coming into the year after the results that were fantastic in the second half of last season. Those two drives that you're mentioning, I know everyone's been going like first half, second half splits. How about just 6 carries for 41 yards on one drive and then 5 carries for 36 yards on the next drive? That's just 2 drives.
Huge.
Where he had 77 yards on 11 total carries. Those were the 2 scoring drives that you referenced. Within that, though, you need a little bit more from your offense, and that little bit more was huge conversions by Kyler Murray, a couple of key third down throws, and even including a key fourth down throw. We'll get to Marv.
Yeah.
But to be able to find him in the game's biggest moment was at least like a little bit slightly reassuring. The defense, which I think you talk about flipping the script, like after like about 3 quarters in, you're like, man, like they're just really struggling to create stops here. What's going on with all this kind of stuff that they're giving up? 40-yard drive here, 60-yard drive here, 70-yard drive here. That does not matter if the drives end in field goals or in turnovers on downs, which is what they got to, partially affected by the kicker. Don't get me wrong, but they held them in the red zone a couple of times, and then they got key turnovers when the game was really on the line. Luqueta's punch or strip, whatever you want to phrase it as, stole the game, basically. That was the moment when they stole it.
I was going to say, it was a little bit of everybody on that defense in the second half, right? We have applauded the move that was signing Mac Olson this offseason and what he's contributed to this defense. He's by far been the MVP of the defense, in my opinion, so far this season. Kaiser White with the game-sealing interception. We know how valuable he was to Jonathan Gannon in Philly. Comes over to Arizona and provides immediate impact last year before tearing his bicep. And this year, it's been the same story. Like, those two patrolling the middle of the field have been almost a godsend for the most part. Just two guys that you can trust to be the captains of your defense and get everybody in the right spots, because there is a lot of revolving doors at different positions with this defense, and having the consistency with those two in particular in the middle provides that stability that a defense needs, and mostly why they were able to shut out the Niners in the second half yesterday.
2 more things on the run game. One, I loved them going back to it at the start of the second half, and even after they had that quick, I believe either a 3-and-out or they got 1 first down on that opening drive, and that was it, and then they punted. From there to still stick with the running game, see James Conner producing, and not look at the clock and start to get worried. They did have enough time. They just had to be perfect, and they trusted that their identity was going to get them through this game and get them in a position to win it. And it did, and I loved the decision-making from Jonathan Gannon, especially in today's NFL where you want to see aggressive play calling at all times. The correct decision there at the end of the game, with the Niners owning 3 timeouts, was to make them burn those timeouts and just settle for the field goal. Now, you could have been nervous with Ryland, especially with the blocked kick that was taken back, that Jay Feely, at least the guy who knows kicking a lot more than all of us combined, really, including the people listening right now, let's be honest,
right,
who said that's mostly on the kicker for putting the ball too low. So to trust him there in that spot, I get some trepidation there. But at the same time, burn the timeouts. Just hope that the kicker does his job on like a decent look, like 41-42 was the look. It's nothing too bad at all. And then trust your defense to either not give up a touchdown or force a punter or Kyle Juszczyk to kick the game-winning field goal. Like, they put themselves in the right position there with the decision-making. Conner runs for like 1 yard on each carry. Fine. Just trust not so much your defense to make a play, but trust that they can't pull off something that dramatic in the span of a minute 10 with no timeouts, and that's what came to fruition.
Honestly, the second that blocked field goal return for a touchdown happened, that was my moment of, this team's not coming back, and this is going to be another one of those, oh, what if Cardinals losses, right? Like, there had to be some sort of signature moment in that game that would have led me to believe that this was one to forget. That seemed to be the moment. And instead, what we got was, and Jonathan Gannon used this word earlier on Burns and Gamble, was resiliency. We got a lot of resiliency out of a group that, with this new regime, they've kind of reflected exactly what we would have hoped for when they took over for Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury, is a lot of just grit and grind and do your job, and it doesn't matter who you are. We're all equal as an 11-man unit, right? We got a lot of that resiliency from every single member. I mean, you mentioned Jesse Luketa, Mac Wilson, and then there's the just ability to call the perfect blitz by Nick Rallis, and Jalen Thompson gets enough of a knock on that Brock Purdy throw that led to the White interception. There was so much about yesterday that had to go right in that second half for them to win that game, and exactly everything that they needed to go right did, and then some.
It's not that their season's over if they lose this game, but their margin of error just gets so slim.
Incredibly slim.
They need to pull something out of their ass from that point on to really figure out a way to get back into okay, we're playing December football games that matter again.
Agreed.
And so now you have a little bit of breathing room here. And by the way, this Packers game you had circled as a really tough one. Have you seen how it's looked with Jordan Love back under center?
It's not been consistent. They beat the Rams.
Great. We're going to talk about that later in the week for sure. Hey!
Yeah.
How about our quarterback running the football? All right. 5 designed runs in 4 games. He gets 4 in this game alone. I literally had a tab in my notes said how many designed runs, and I was writing down every single one. I will note 3 of those 4 were on read options, and I think that's what Jonathan Gannon was getting into when he joined Burns and Gambo earlier today and talked about the increase in runs for Kyler.
Yeah, I thought he made plays with his legs. You know what I mean? Sometimes, too, though, guys, like it might be a design quarterback run that has a read element, and they play it a certain way that he would hand it off. So It's not like, we had a bunch of more design runs for him. I thought that when he did have his opportunities to make the correct decision and pull it and run, he did a good job. And then in the pass game, I know he converted the 1 3rd down. I thought that was an outstanding play with his legs, which was huge in that game. That's part of his game. That's elite, and we'll continue to use it.
Just to quickly explain that, not the biggest read option guy on my Duke Blue Devils NCAA football dynasty, still not incorporated in my offense. Essentially what you're doing is the quarterback is holding out the ball for the running back, and if the bait guy, the pick guy, whatever you want to call him, Joey Bosa on that 60-yard touchdown was effectively the guy. Bosa was the guy where he wrapped up James Conner. Goodbye, see you later. And Kyler just had those reads available to him in this game and led to a big day for him on the ground.
And, he got past that magic number of 5. He got to 7. And when Kyler gets past that number of 5, it usually leads to a lot of success.